And we are back, Midnight and Formal, ready to give you Burning Core's Redemption up against Axiz for our sixth game of the night, Formal. And Burning Core, we just witnessed a 25-minute demolition derby with them up against favorites V3. Now, Axiz is a little bit of a different beast coming into from spring. Axis was the eighth place team. They had a very rough time, let's just put it a nice way. And Burning Core came in seventh. Now, so far, these teams have had very different experiences, with Burning Core having won a total of one game and Axis doubling that on two. So, let's see how this goes, eh?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And you say doubling it too as if it's a small number. And I'm going to be a little bit more in that. They're 2-2. They've only lost 2 games as well. And, this could be a different looking Axis, perhaps. That summer split buff we could be thinking. And with the way how Burning Core looked in that first game, they could be getting excited. Like, this is our chance to sort of move out of last place and put another team down there. However, with that spring season, there still are question marks. And, a hot start, or at least a hot start for them, doesn't necessarily answer those questions yet. People are going to want to see that dreaded consistency word in motion. And so if you want to prove yourself to be a midfield or maybe even upper midfield team, these are the games that you have to win. Your opponent's already looking shaky. I'm hoping Axis can put together a clean game here.
Yeah, and I think the way Axis does this is, surprise, surprise, on the back of Honey, their AD carry player. Honey has performed well. Honey is basically in the heart of this team, so to speak. So I'm very interested to see how this goes against the Burning Core bot lane, where we saw Yuhi not be able to step up on that Callista gameplay. And I would really like if they put Yuhi on something defensive, a Senna, an Ezreal, something that is able to keep him safe and help facilitate Proud to go on that roaming journey that we saw him attempt in game 1 against V3, but just wasn't able to perform because Callista needs that extra little babysitting.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on this one. I mean, you cannot afford to let that bot lane go in the same direction that we saw just previously. Granted, it was a disaster on all fronts for Burning Core, but the bot lane was just a straight up 2v2 loss. Like, there was no jungle coming in from either team. And then when the jungler did came in, it came from the Burning Core side, and it still wasn't able to fix things. And unfortunately, at this level, that's just not going to be acceptable, especially when you're going up against Honey, who is, as you're putting it, that sweet star of the show right now. Put a little bit of Manuka in there, and all of a sudden, they're going to be looking unstoppable. So I do feel as if we need to see that turnaround. I like the safe pick. I'm also almost thinking that Tristana, though, just in case, hey, if you see an opening, you still have that ability to go for it.
Yeah, well, a lot of flexibility we could see out of the pick and ban. We kind of know what we want to see, Formal, but let's find out as we'll be getting into it right now. No time to waste. And looking at the bans, a little bit of everything. Gariaru is going to lose access to the Twisted Fate. Once, despite the loss, is going to have their Lee Sin taken away from them. I don't really blame them for that ban. It's a very strong champion in Once's hands. And on the other side, the Thresh and the... That's a Nocturne taken away from... That's mostly for Inno, if I'm not mistaken, as Ray Parky's chase gets banned. Oh, that's what you want to see, baby.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of targeted bans and very specific ones as well. Forget metas, we're just going to get rid of, Ray Farkey's Jace, but also, get rid of that Lee Sin from Once as well. Talk about not being allowed to play a champion. First you get it and you're not allowed to do anything, and then you're not even allowed it at all. Get rid of Gariaru's Twisted Fate, which I'm a little bit surprised on. I mean, those Destinies did leave a little bit to be desired, but you know what? Keep your opponents off balance. I can respect that as the Ziggs hover. Now that's just being mean, Axis. That's just being mean.
I'd be surprised, but it's Inno who's hovering the champion, so I'm not really surprised to see that one there. But it will be the Renekton that is locked in. It's always the top laners.
It's always the top laners. It's always the young players as well who go that way. You know what I mean? The veterans will play those kind of jokes. It's the top players trying to leave that mark.
Well, because you got to remember that as a top laner, you're subject to the whim of your team. So the only time you get to have a bit of fun is when you can hover something before anyone else in the champions. Like, that's what you've got to remember about the top laners. Formal is we just our very existence is like a Meeseeks pain. As the lock-in for Once is going to be that Xin Zhao, another aggressive jungler. I must say, I really like it.
And speaking of jungles, you want to escape the top lane pain, you go to the jungle where you just feel nothing at all. Just a suggestion for you. Once is going to be locked in for Akali as well. And that's going to be interesting, actually. The Akali getting locked in. I'm a little bit surprised by this, but I'm liking
Oh,
this dive and damage potential out of the Blast Core side.
you might be a bit surprised by this, but I must say I am not. Gariaru had on the one win that Burning Core had. Gariaru was on that Akali, and it looked brilliant in week number 1. So I must say, Burning Core allowing Gariaru to be access to this champion. I'm really, really excited. This could be the signs of life that some of us were talking about in weeks 1 and week 2, where Gariaru, who was being put on utility mages and just sort of left on their own, and it didn't look great. But you gave them the Silas, you gave them the Akali. It actually looked pretty damn strong. So I'm really excited to see, does Burning Core have faith in Gariaru on this assassin? I really hope so.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see for sure. This does lead to the obvious lock-in of the Lulu as well. That counter-engage and sort of peel potential needed when you see two diving champions put in, as we see a set hover. Now, Ray Farkey didn't have the best performance on the set in our opening game before, and they're not going to commit for it just yet. Instead, going back to the Leona for Proud.
Yeah, I really like this. Proud didn't really get to do much on the Maokai last game, and now realize, well, you know what, I'm just going to take the Leona. I saw what it did last game. I know I can be impactful here. And the best part of Leona is now Yuhi can play pretty much any champion he wants. Because everything works well with Leona, except maybe like a Kog'Maw or something like that. And then again, you can still make it work. So, I quite like it. And if that is a Lulu support, you're looking at, all right, let's fight in this bottom lane. A lot you can do here for Burning Core. I like the setup for the aggression, but I want to see obviously what they followed up with, because the Callista is taken off the board right away.
Yeah, absolutely. So too is the Kog'Maw, which is, at least in Oceania, a bit of a oddball pick or ban, but can't speak for what we're seeing right here. A lot of bot lane focus, actually, just throughout these drafts today so far. As we see the Varus, that's a bit more conventional of a ban that we see, and it does mean we could be seeing a new bot laner for the afternoon as well, or evening, or morning, depending where you are in the world. For us, it's very, very bright and early, might I add. How does it feel to be getting ever closer to that 2 a.m. club? Because I'm excited.
I'm about to say, I don't know if you can call 1:45 bright and early here. As it looks like the Kai'Sa would be quite nice. A lot of setup there. And you talked about the dive coming out of Burning Core. Well, the Kai'Sa has that in spades. So Burning Core, short range, but they're going to get up in your face and they're going to kill you for it.
Yeah, you go all in. I want to see 5 diving champions right now. Just commit. I mean, talk about, full sending it. We saw Ray Farkey hint at it before. Well, now let's get everyone in on it as well. Affiliate's going to get locked in to go with the Lulu. So again, a lot of that sort of counter-engage, a lot of that defensive style. I'm going to assume the Teemo is not going to get locked in, although I wouldn't actually mind a Teemo in this situation, because those shrooms can punish a team that dives on you. Instead, we get the Alistair, and I feel as if, BC might want to dive, but the Axiz is ready for it.
Yeah, and I must say, looking at Axiz's composition, I actually I normally hate the Lulu mid lane. I normally detest it. But in this situation, it's a setup for the Aphelios, the Alistair Axiz protection. I actually do quite like the setup. And Orianna, yeah, that's looked good to me. Looking in there. But we talked about Axiz's Honey and how important their AD carry player is. This is a composition basically set up for the late game, saying, Honey, if we don't win in the early game, you're a late game insurance policy on the Aphelios of all champions.
But the interesting thing about this one is that sort of late game is going to come a lot sooner than it might in a traditional game, just because of how aggressive, the Blast Core are actually going to be into this one. Sorry, the Burning Core, not the Blast. I kept calling it Blast Core. I'm trying to remember what that's from, but no, how aggressive the Burning Core. Oh, of course. Yeah. No wonder. Yatos would know about that. But it's definitely going to be an interesting one for sure, because this game, I feel like it's going to snowball one way or the other, right? Like, that's what happens when you get a team this aggressive. Like, they're just going to want to take that lead and run away with it, or they're going to try to take that lead and have it explode in their face. So I do sort of question, how relevant is late game insurance realistically going to be?
I'm not sure if it's okay. Late game probably isn't the best way to word it, but when you get a late game carry like an Aphelios, pair that up with a utility Lulu in the top lane. Ugh.
Mm.
Wait. I
Wait.
just realized it's Ray Farky. Oh, I just realized it's Ray Farky on the Akali. Nah, that's fine. He'll be
Yeah.
fine. But it's a utility setup from the Renekton as front line, the Viego as a secondary threat, the Lulu Alistair to set up as the facilitators for Honey's Aphelios. This isn't a composition that you draft with the intention of winning in the first 15 minutes of the game and building a 5k
No.
gold lead. This is the
No,
composition that
absolutely
says to me, you're looking for a mid-game power spike and you're looking for Honey to get online on this Aphelios. So it's a waiting game, and Hoglet, I think, needs to be visiting or at least hovering around the bottom half of the map here on this Viego.
Can I just say, real quick on Gararu's pick as well for this Orianna? As much as I see the synergy, I mean, you have like how many ball delivery systems right now? Literally every other player on your team. I still would have liked to see another diving champion like LeBlanc or something just to fit with the synergy. I know it probably wouldn't be as good. I know it's a little too all in, but think of the synergy, Midnight. Just think of that synergy and think of Yuhi as he walks into this tri-bush and spots out Honey and does a good chunk of damage. All right, well, that's a good start for, the Burning Core. Already a step up from that last game.
Yeah, and this
Are we
could
not
actually
done?
get... No, we're not done. Well, Honey
Okay, no,
is.
we're
Honey's
done.
forced to back away.
Yeah, Honey's definitely done.
Well, Honey's a bit annoyed more than anything, but they'll get back in time and they won't miss much. No, they shouldn't be able to miss anything in terms of experience, because it takes about 30 seconds. That'll be fine. As I'm still really curious what Burning Core are doing in the bottom lane here, because look at once. Is this a late invade?
This is a very late invade, and I like this. Unfortunately, they're going to walk right into Nemo, who will be able to spot that out, and it is going to do enough to sort of disrupt that first camp, actually, and it might go to the Burning Core, so the late invade does find a bit of success and an early jungle advantage for the BC side.
And even Gariaru roaming down just to make sure there's no chance of a contest. I do quite like this. It does hurt their middle lane, but I think that's an acceptable loss, I think it's referred to as. So that'll be fine. Shouldn't fall too far behind in pressure in the mid lane with the ranged versus melee matchup. And Hoglet will, of course, surprise, surprise, rush to the top half of the map here. And we'll just have horizontal jungling for a little bit here, which should be fine for both sides.
I mean, it is spotted out, though, so I have seen situations where similar setups to this, where the red side jungler will immediately rotate up and try to get a pick on their opponent's jungler. I mean, this was seen a lot in the Oceanic Academy leagues and university leagues. This strategy is quite often implied, even with Xin Zhao jungles. Burning Core not going to go for that, though. They're going to continue to play normal. Wow, AI very slightly leaning towards the Axiz in this one. A closer match than some might think.
Yeah, and I do quite like it because both compositions have very clear ways that they can win this game. We talked about it on the Aphelios here. A late game hyper carry. It's got the Lulu for setup assistance. It's got the Viego for an alternate carry in case something happens to Honey, and even for a mid game. And of course, Renekton does Renekton things like we're witnessing. But against it, Orianna is just consistent all around. Akali is a forever threat, and the dive potential from Burning Core at no point can be understated. Because if Burning Core decide you're not allowed to live, turrets will not save you if they have made that decision. And speaking of turrets not saving you, Ray Farky could experience it.
I think Axiz has made the first decision as Ray Farky is not allowed to live. A very late teleport, going to be way too little too late, but the Gararu might be able to get one back and does so. So it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade, but you have to think that goes in favor of Axiz right there.
Yeah, it's going to go in favor of them because Megumin... Actually, I was going to say will get some good turret damage done, but it actually won't. Ray Farky, with that teleport, will be able to catch the wave, will still be down a significant chunk of CS, but they could pick up a kill.
Yeah, it's like an animal caught in a cage right now. Megumin nearly caught out on that rotation up. Has to burn flash to escape. The ignite takes just enough to give the kill over to Proud. That rotation at that time for once was near perfect.
And now with that pickup, not only does it get Ray Farky back into the game despite the disastrous CS situation, it burns some more TPs. We get a pause coming through, and never forget the most critical, important part of the fact that it was the Axiz mid laner dying. You can add another dead Renekton to the compilation.
Ooh, that is the most important part. I like that. I like that a lot. And, during this pause, we have time to quickly, take that Renekton, throw it in, Windows Movie Maker or Bandicam 2, put it up there, make sure you add the 144 resolution filter. Perfect
Hmm.
meme material right there.
Yeah,
That's
poor little Renekton's getting bullied out. So we do have a bit of a game pause, but what I think is really interesting to note, while we hopefully will get past this pause relatively soon, is the proactivity with the teleports. The fact that I think every solo laner has basically teleported at this point in response to someone dying means that while it may look bad, like from sides of they're trading kills back and forth, it's looking a bit silly. No one's falling too far behind because, for example, Ray Farkey died in the top lane dive, lost a ton of CS, still teleported mid, got experience, got assistance for a kill, and got some farm. And then there was a T-port in the counter mid. There's TP back top lane. There's TPing all over the place, which means that yes, it may look a little bit scrappy, it may look a little bit ugly, but it's still working itself out relatively evenly, assuming the kills are at least trading.
Yeah, to me, it looks like commitment right there. And it really is telling me
Hmm.
that neither of these teams want to give up in an inch. And in a normal game of League of Legends, and not that this one actually has been a little subnormal right now, but usually when you see more conventional team comps, you don't necessarily see situations like that. However, when you understand how aggressive that the Burning Core wants to be, Axis kind of has to play to that to not let them snowball ahead the Burning Core has to drop those teleports to really push any sort of early advantage they should be able to find. So to see these teleports used for pretty much every little advantage that they can possibly get, it makes a lot of sense with the potential of a massive snowball rolling down the hill of this game.
Hmm. And the one person not to burn teleport is the Axis top laner of Makes a lot of sense for the Lulu just to walk back to lane. It's not like Rayfaki's going to be able to kill you in laning phase. You're a Lulu. You've got shields for days, you've got protection for days, and never forget that damn polymorph. I may not like the ability, surprise, surprise, where it's like, oh, you're going to dive me? No, it's in the mid lane. What is this?
Shockwave their initiation. Mega Man needs to be a little bit cautious right here. Has backup, but not gonna get it as Gariaru gets the solo kill. A fine pickup for an Orianna in mid.
And that's a fantastic sign of life for Burning Core. The middle lane really well, they need a lane going in their favor because again, if they go even, Aphelios is waiting for you in that mid game here. And an Orianna, if they can get ahead, can basically take over team fights through not through damage, through the zone control that the Orianna ball does have with that champion. And now with the tier of the goddess sitting in their pocket, it's looking better and better for that scaling game of Gariaru and the dive composition that Burning Core have brought to the table.
Yeah, that said, it's time for the Axis to possibly look for a response right now. However, Hoglet is not going to find anything down in that bot side immediately. Will linger around, though. I mean, there is a Cloud Drake up for grabs, and I imagine it will be a point of contention, so much so that the Burning Core, they're going to back off for now, aware of the amount of pressure Axis is putting on that Dragon Pit. Do they react? Do they look to press forward? I don't think they're going to have the opportunity to do so, and as a result, Axis is going to get that first Drake.
Yeah, 6 minutes 30. First dragon does go down in their favor. Not as quick as some dragons we've seen, but it's still relatively fast. And I must say, I do quite like it. It sets the wheels in motion for the inevitable dragon win conditions that we see dominating ever since the Elder Dragon came into existence. And see
Yeah.
how that goes because it's a good start for Axis, but it's a long while until things get online. And again, the Aphelios just needs to get more gold into their back pockets.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be looking at right now for sure is how accelerated can Axis get Honey going. Going to be so reliant on that 2-item power spike, I imagine, if they can get to it with the game still within control, like not having it snowballed against them. That's prime position for the Axis to really start pushing their own aggression forward. As we kind of have taken a little bit of a back foot a bit. I mean, the tempo of this game kind of slowing down after that flurry of teleports we saw early. Expect it to heat back up, though, as soon as Ray Farkey and Gariaru do get those teleports available again. It should coincide rightly with that second dragon.
Yeah, I think the action might start a little bit early here. For look at the minimap Axis. Herald is spawning in 10 seconds. Everyone is rotating to
Mm.
the top half of the map here.
Oh.
And look what Burning Core is, or maybe I should say isn't doing. Yuhi is headed to the bottom lane. So even with Proud roaming, they've got to give his objective up.
Yeah, that's a interesting choice right there. I guess afraid of losing that lane control. So Burning Core still going to have a little peek, maybe see if they can find something. But at the end of the day, all they can do is drop wards and wave goodbye to the Rift Herald. Or one would think that they're hanging around a little while. Nemo just begging for them to step forward. It's not going to be the case. The Herald is secured by Axiz, and that's their second objective secured. Comes at a cost of a bit of bot pressure, but with the way how this wave sits, not too much farm is actually going to be lost. In fact, I don't even think Yuhi's going to get to the tower at all.
Yuhi will get close. I think Yuhi will successfully get their minion wave fully farmed out. But yeah, because of just taking so long, because the Kai'Sa doesn't have raw damage output, and the fact that the Axiz bot lane is taking a bit of a save, they'll lose, what, 3-4 minions at most? Maybe more if Honey is playing very defensive, which I do approve of. But that's it. And that was a Rift Herald traded for 1 round of turret plating, so maybe a dead mid laner.
Oh boy. Yeah, Gariaru in a lot of trouble right here. A quite simple dive picks up 1 kill, and a very late engage from Proud may have sealed the demise of the Leona as well. Fortunately, they are tanky enough to walk away from this one. A little bit too slow in the reaction time for the Burning Core, though, cost them their mid laner.
Yeah, not realizing that Axiz was still on the prowl for something to do. And of course, a really good engage coming from there does kill the enemy mid lane. Is this just taking another look at it? Yeah. So Gariaru, he just wants to push the wave out. He wants to reset. He's low on mana, and unfortunately, yeah, that's just the way it goes. Double dash in for the Renekton, the CC coming through there, the double layering, and even with the shockwave to buy time, waiting for Proud to arrive, it's just far too much damage for someone as squishy as the Orianna to survive.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Gariaru, who had been starting off this game, in such a strong spot, does finally get caught out, and that might open the doorway for Mega Man to get back in this one right now. As it stands passing that 10-minute mark, this game still very much up for grabs, so neither team really able to snowball or punish at least just yet, although looks like we're fixing up for another bit of pressure down on that bot side. Dragon still a minute 20 away, although the Burning Core, they don't want to be caught out yet again.
Yeah, and that will come down to vision. Now, Burning Core vision on the bottom half of the map specifically actually isn't too bad. They've got vision at Krugs, they've got control over the river. So if there is a roam coming in from the likes of Megumin or even Hoglet, they should have at least some idea that something is going on, because they won't see Megumin mid lane, and that should set alarm bells off first and foremost. Speaking of alarm bells, once sneaking into the bot lane.
Doesn't even need to sneak. Instead, can kind of just go straight at it as the trigger was pulled a little bit early. Honey throwing it right back into Proud as Mega Man was able to teleport in, but Gariaru and Hoglet are arriving. 2 more teleports as everyone wants to get involved, and it's Nemu who is going to go down, avoids that solar flare, is able to sneak away as Mega Man goes giant and nearly gets a kill back. Instead, Honey's going to go to the rest of the team, and Honey, who is starting to pop off, gets that double, is going to look for the triple, but one stays just out of range. A fantastic turnaround for the Axiz, wins them the fight. The Dragon should be the prize.
We talked time and time and time again about how Honey is the late game powerhouse on this Aphelios. Did not get caught by the engage from once, flashed out, managed to stay alive, and then by the time the Burning Core realized, crap, we haven't gotten any of our priority targets dead, well, they were pushed back. They realized they got to run away from the turret. Rayfaki realized, well, crap, I ain't getting out of here alive, and the rest of the team dropped who with Proud is now Dragon will be taken out. I don't think they can contest this. Burning Core gonna run.
Yeah, they've got to get out of here quite quickly, or do they, though? It's actually a bit of a disjointed escape. Voidseeker does make contact on Eno, but we're not going to see the engage come out. Yeah, I mean, no killer instinct is available, so unfortunately we can't see the dive bomb from downtown, but what we do see is yet another neutral objective go the Axis' way.
Yeah, so it started off looking good for Burning Core, but here's what thing backfired. The Chakrams are available for Honey. So they realize, crap, we don't want to fight this. Honey walks up, flashes to safety, double TP comes through. Now, Burning Core are forced to commit forwards because of Rayfaki's TP positioning. Solar Flare does not connect, and the Shockwave isn't able to land on any priority targets. Hoglet nukes down Rayfaki, who just drops to Honey. Honey also picks up Proud in the back end of that. I don't know how Once gets out of here, honestly. Oh, the heal. That's why. I'm going to say, Honey doesn't deserve to get out of there alive.
I mean, I think it looked like at one stage they were down to 12 health, I believe it was.
Yeah, it
Something
was.
ridiculously small like that. One's very lucky to still be standing at the end of that one. But more importantly, Burning Core's lead, at least in terms of gold that they had and kills, has now gone back in the way of the favor of the Axis, who have gotten their first gold lead of the game thus far. It's not a major one. In fact, it's only about 1K. However, with this little bit of the gold lead, most of it is coming from that bot lane. It is Honey who is now starting to get in control, and that's going to be that big damage dealer for the Axis. Perhaps now Axis gets a bit more proactive when they wind up in some of these fighting situations.
Yeah, 150 gold bounty. Their mythic, the Kraken Slayer, already completed as well. And they've still got 24 stacks on the cull. Best item in the game, by the way. So things are looking quite good for the team. As we're seeing, like, you can't gank a Lulu unless you're pushing the wave in, like we're seeing. Ganking a Lulu is a journey, as Hoglet might be coming in for something too.
Yeah, this could be interesting. It's always a fun sign seeing Lulu scaring away members of the other team. Granted, it was, the threat of the Gake, but just watching Lulu chase people down, always fun to witness. Burning Core wanting no part of the mystical Yordle in this situation, and could be a telling sign right now that Burning Core might not be feeling so confident in looking for fights that they know they cannot win. That's going to give up map priority, and perhaps this Herald spawning in 10 seconds might go to Axiz as well, or do we see a re-engage once? Having a little look-see, are they going to pull that trigger? Everyone is here. And I think we're about to see another big fight.
Yeah, we will. Now, big things to note here before it starts. Yuhi has the upgraded Q on the Kai'Sa. That's going to be so much more damage output, as I think once has the ball on him, you need a good ball delivery system for this fight.
Yeah, that you do. Waiting to see if once will pull the trigger. Yuhi as well needs to be careful. Down below, Hoglet trying to keep Proud and Ray Farkey out from getting that flank. Herald's taking quite low. Here comes the fight. It's secured by once, but can they win the fight as well? Health bars are low on that Axis side as the front lines combine, and Ray Farkey comes up huge, helping secure a kill back onto Megaman. Nemo falls as well, courtesy of Ray Farkey once again, although neither of the kills actually went to the Akali. It does not matter. The Burning Core get the Herald, get the fight, and it's the Axis who are sent packing.
Yeah, Burning Core, so disciplined, waiting for their opening there as once dives in. Oh my god!
What is going big on Eno right now? And there's the killer instinct from Yuhi! No one's allowed to get out alive. A great follow-up for the side of the Burning Core.
Oh, the discipline from Burning Core. They set up a flank from Ray Farkey and Proud, and they just took so long to execute it. A two-man shockwave sort of put the panic inside Axis hedge feelers and crap. They're coming in, and then just punch after punch after punch from Burning Core, ground Axis down. Look at the flank. Axis had to think about so many things at once. The shockwave throws them for a loop. Two members caught. The Herald's Eye opens, and Burning Core are now in a great position. Axis are forced to reposition by retreating, which is a disaster for them because Hoglet has no health. Megamin, like the namesake, gets killed in an explosion that basically one-shots the crocodile, and then they get hunted down, and they're just not ready for once to follow through here. They have no idea it's coming until it's far too late. That is a beautiful read from once, and Yuhi is rewarded a kill on the back of it.
Yeah, first kill of the game for Yuhi, but definitely one well worth grabbing. Always love a late killer instinct, as Yuhi now in the mid lane has to put up with Honey here as well. This game, very back and forth, Midnight. I mean, it feels like whenever one team has an advantage, they wind up trying to take a bit more than they realistically can grab. Furthermore, for Burning Core, that's their first neutral objective of the game that they were able to grab for themselves. Perhaps this is the start of that snowball that they were hoping to see beginning to form. Maybe you can form ahead of a snowman. Soon we'll be able to get that middle body and then the base as it continues to roll down the hill.
Well, find out for Dragon number 3 is hitting Summoner's Rift here, an Infernal Dragon to boot, and it is Burning Core, which will be the team to secure this particular objective. I do quite like Axis' decision not to contest this. They just weren't in position. Mega Mint was on the top half of the map. They would have been forced to burn teleport, and it's only the first dragon. Yes, it's an Infernal. Yes, it's a pain in the ass to lose, but no, it is not critical.
Yeah, no, it's not. But when you start getting to the second and the third dragon, then we might see Axis start to contest it a little bit more. When you're dealing with 4 dive champions, you don't want to give them that extra damage for that instant pop, especially if the Burning Core are able to find Honey, who is They have to be more and more protected, I feel like, as this game continues. At the moment, Honey is roaming to the top side to meet up with the rest of the Axis side. In fact, everyone on the top half of the map right now, which is a little bit surprising. Meanwhile, in response, you got 4 members for the Burning Core on the bot side of the map, really playing a bit of, yin and yang, top side versus bot side right now, and each team just giving a lot away to their opponents.
Yeah, vertical League of Legends might be a good way to describe this one here. Each sacking the side lane of their opponents so they can just worry about pushing out, I should say, the lane that they are set up in. Top lane, obviously, for Axiz, and Ray Farkey able to pick up the turret in the bottom, which should give them their mythic item, which will be very nice for this Akali to sustain in the fight. So I'm a bit surprised that it's not the rocket belt coming in, because I know a lot of Akalis really like that rocket belt, but instead, going for something a little bit different today.
I mean, if that last fight was anything to go by, the extra bit of mobility might not be necessarily needed right now. As long as you can sort of, take advantages of shockwaves that throw Nemo out of position, opening the doorway for you to dive in, you don't need that extra bit of gap. If the synergy continues to be that strong for the Burning Core, I do feel like, yeah, you might be able to get away with this. However, it doesn't mean if Ray Farkey does get caught out, there's not going to be that extra sort of escape tool or extra engage tool available for them. So they're just going to need to be a little bit more cautious when picking their battles as a result.
Well, talking about picking battles, look what's coming in from the flank here. Hoglet wants something. I don't know what, but you can just smell the violence in the air. Pack that up with the fact that Inno is roaming mid, and we may get one of our famous J-Rams once again, Formal, because Baron spawns in 30 seconds. No team's really interested in that. The next dragon is probably about a solid 3 minutes away. So we're just seeing J-Rams for a little bit.
What else do you do right now? Establish, vision control in your opponent's jungle. Look for side lane pressure. No. Just go in the mid lane. Absolutely the correct call in these situations. Again, how I play League of Legends. Good to see that mirrored here. But more importantly right now, we do actually eventually see the teams start to branch off and go towards that side lanes. But again, bot lane control looking to be established for the Burning Core right now, or at least it was until Ray Farkey is going to be looking to reset. Might have to stay in lane with the arrival of Megaman. But at that same token, it feels like Axiz has been able to go to the top lane time and time again, uncontested. And that is a little bit of a worrying sign, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, it's partly because it is one of their it's the longer lane full stop for them, but it's also the lane where Burning Core doesn't have the protection of the turret. Look at the bottom side. The turret is still available for Ray Farkey, whereas obviously Axiz did lose their own up on the top half, so it's a moment where the player's going to be pushed out into them, they can catch it, they'll push it back, and then Burning Core should assign Ray Farkey to go top lane, catch the wave, push it back out. The standard Baron Dragon dances that we are very accustomed to seeing at this point in League of Legends, and that part is just going to continue. Dragon spawning in about a minute's time here, and that will be the big thing, I feel like, because look at itemization Formal, specifically between our two marksmen. 2 fully completed items of Honey, while Yuhi is getting both their collector, which is obviously the Q upgrade damage input that we're seeing just there, and the Zeal, but that means there is no second fully completed item on Yuhi.
Yeah, that's the very scary thing for sure. I mean, the damage output very heavily in favor of Axiz. Despite being behind in gold right now, it does mean Burning Core can't really pick any fight they want. Although if they catch out Hoglet, maybe they can force something. Proud actually opting not to engage, still holding onto that Solar Flare. Smart decision right now, but they are a bit separated in Nemo, looking for a way in from above. The Ray Farkey may have found the flank, instead just finds Alistair instead down below. Once is caught out by the Hoglet, needs to be careful right here because the Axiz is looking to close in, and you got Megaman on the flank. It's a big sandwich. Get Proud has to go gold to stay alive. 3-man shockwave nearly turns it around, and Yuhi's doing so much from that backside. Finds 1 kill as the rest of the Burning Core compiling in. It's a 2-for-1 to start, but the fight might be looking to continue. Axiz, do they want to push their luck? Not today. They give up their second dragon.
Yeah, they give up the dragon because Burning Core landed a amazing combo attack on them, specifically Garyaru and that damn shockwave. Perfect. Hit 3 members, and there was nothing that they could really do after that hit them from Axiz. They were forced to back away. They lost their priority members. They lost Megaman, and that was the biggest problem for them. They lost their ability to threaten the dive onto the backline. Yuhi was just allowed to free hit during a team fight, which just shouldn't be happening. So again, Axiz is funneling through a choke point, hunting down Proud, hunting the kills. Nimoy gets a good start off, but a beautiful ultimate from once sets up Garyaru, sets up Yuhi, and the rest of the team piles in. Megamin runs for their life. It doesn't matter there as they get cut down and make it a 1-4-2 trade. And with the 1-2 trade successfully made, Hogley wasn't in a position to contest the objective afterwards.
No, it was a very well played by the Burning Core, who I have to admit, their team fight getting a lot stronger in this second game we see from them in comparison to their first. We're finally seeing those synergies come together in the Axis. I mean, all it takes is one misstep against Noriana into a choke point, and, well, disaster soon follows. The damage, though, Ray Farkey kind of went a little, unnoticed in that one, actually doing more damage than Yuhi in that situation, despite the ability to free hit. We're seeing this once Ray Farkey combo start to become more and more involved, and that could be a troubling sign for the Axis side, as Nemo actually caught out right there by the shockwave, but the follow-up damage is not going to be enough, especially when you sort of go unchained.
Maybe so, but I do love the fact that Garyaru was willing to try and force out Nimoy's ultimate, and very successful in doing so, forced out that Unbreakable Will. Nothing else means that Axiz are not in a position to make the next play. They're forced to wait until that Alistair ultimate becomes up and available again, because it is so critical that Nimoy is able to hold the line when it comes to team fight positioning, because he needs to be buying space for Honey and Inno to do their job. Honey to deal the damage, and Inno to facilitate the Aphelios, who, with the Infernum, could do a pretty nasty team fight as, well, it's JRAM time for me once again.
Every time a JRAM starts, though, I feel like Hoglet is finding a member of the Burning Core on the flanks right now, and I want to thank Hoglet for that ability to sort of sniff out the rivals, as that's an ambitious Baron start, and it could be to try to set up a trap right now. In fact, Axis realizing, hold on, we're surrounded with Ray Farkey on that flank. They know, sitting underneath that tower, they're not going to want to commit into the river, thinking that might be a choke point, as Proud may have been found out by Hoglet. It's taking enough to walk away from that one alive. Back to the JRAM, I suppose, but best way to break it up, walk back up towards the Baron. Burning Core thinking, you know what, we can play this game of cat and mouse. Let's threaten the Baron again. Let's start it up again. There's no vision for the Axis. Perhaps we see a fight.
Oh my god, Proud. Could he get a flank off
this? Proud's going in, and actually got a bit of an engage. Here comes the follow-up from Ray Farkey, but immediately just get pulverized away as once as well trying to dive, but no one can get to the back line. That's what the shockwave is for. It gets 4 members, and the floodgates open up for the Burning Core, who look to dive on through with the blasting cone. It looks like Nemo's going to escape, but a flash forward by Proud should secure that kill. Final shot comes from Yuhi. You can see down below Hoglet looking for a potential re-engage. Instead, settles for the Wolves. It's a 2 for none, but more importantly, a Baron for the Burning Core.
Burning Core's dive composition is throwing Axiz for a damn loop. We're seeing Burning Core commit jumping into the fight. Then when Axiz collapse on the dive, the shockwave hits. It's landed multiple times, and now I don't think Axiz are done.
Yeah, no, you cannot contest this one. Axis do the smart things and back away for now. Burning Core, again off of that shockwave. Keep your eyes on that Orianna. It just throws that Aphelios right into the perfect spot.
Because look at the dive. Look at Ray Farkey. Dives in, basically saying, hey, look at me. Once pulls them all in, and then Garyaru is like, well, I mean, if you're going to get him, set him up, I'm going to slam him with a 3-man ultimate. Ray Farkey slices in with that perfect execution to get the damage output through, and Nimoy gets close to getting out, but just was not close enough. But again, the dive composition from Burning Core is causing some serious problems for Axis. Your gut response to seeing a dive is pile on the diver, crowd control them, stop them, and then you remember, crap, that's an Orianna, that's a shockwave, and there goes all my health bar.
It should be worth noting, these past 2 team fights have taken place in the jungle. These no choke with a 3-man shockwave makes Nemos engage look absolutely comical. Still, the fight is going to continue as Megalyn in that front line has to try to run away. In fact, everyone from the Axis kind of feels like they have to run away. Perhaps look for that re-engage, but instead, Burning Core's thinking, we don't want to fight. We want our 3rd Infernal Dragon again. It's going to be up to the Axis to re-engage, and you know what? Axis looking surprisingly healthy right now. They might be down to throw down once more. Ray Farkey is below, going to be looking for that flank, as in the front line, Proud is going to try to stand defense. Dragon
Good.
does get initiated by Yuhi down below, and that's where Mega Man is looking to engage. Ray Farkey's actually quite far away, and it's Hoglet who springs the fight, dives straight to that back line, but it explodes right into the Fate. The damage from Yuhi, enough to send Axiz back in packing, but it's straight into Ray Farkey, who finds the flank, finds Inu, another one goes down. Nemo will be next, so too will be Honey. That is a 4-for-none fight as the Burning Core pull further and further ahead.
Axiz saw the flank from Ray Farkey coming a mile away and still committed to diving a dive composition. That is such a risky play. One screw up, one miscommunication, and the dive goes completely disastrous, as we got to witness in that situation. Now with the Baron buff, Burning Core will break open Axiz's base, punishing them for mistake after mistake after mistake. With the inhibitor going down there, Axiz are looking like they are struggling here. Honey. Okay, so first of all, that was beautiful. Let's just never forget that. It put Axiz in a really awkward position where they're trading positioning. Mega Man gets his health bar nuked, is forced to back away, but that's the only real casualty here for the side of Axiz, and a Renekton can still relatively heal it up. Burning Core then lure them into the jungle, say, come on, come this way, and Axiz should realize that Ray Farkey is on the flank. The ward at the Raptor Pit sees it, but they get so ambitious after releasing the Moonlight Vigil, and the flank from Hoglet gives them such an ambition. They dive, but look at Yuhi and Garyaru, untouched by the dive. They dive onto the tankier members. They realize, crap, we haven't got damage output. We didn't kill anyone of importance. Yuhi managed to live. Garyaru managed to live. Ray Farkey managed to live. If you're going to dive like that, you have to kill them. You cannot let them away. Otherwise, it's a 5k damage Kai'Sa.
Oh boy, this is looking so good for the Burning Core right now. Not only do they get that inhibitor, they're also one dragon away from that Infernal Soul, and this is kind of what Axis's biggest fear was going to be, that snowball coming to life. 8k gold lead on top of that. They secured that first Baron as well. The Burning Core absolutely now in control of this game, and I'm excited to see what they can do with it right now, because with such a snowball comp, they cannot afford to let their foot up off the gas. They have to keep trying to find these fights, especially if Axiz is going to walk into them. You know, keep inviting them into these choke points. Keep inviting them into these situations where Garyaru is going to be able to find these dream shockwaves, because one or two more plays like that, they're going to win this game.
I'd argue just one more play with the inhibitor line broken already. Axiz is one mistake, one messy team fight away from losing this game. 8,000 gold, 9 kills in favor of Burning Core. Hell, 3 turrets and a dragon. All 3 of them being Infernals for Burning Core. This is the position that Burning Core love to be in. So, the question is then, from Axiz, well, how do you survive this? How do you win this fight? And we talked about it before, Honey needs to be able to free hit from the backline, needs to be able to cycle the weapons, and I think more importantly, needs to kill Yuhi and or Garyaru. They are the priority members that must die for a team fight to go their way.
Absolutely, but it's going to be so much more difficult now when you take a look at how the items are starting to play out right now. 4 items already completed for Yuhi at this stage of the game, where you kind of saw the first component just get purchased for Honey about 30 seconds ago, so nearly an entire item down on that Axiz side. That damage output is going to be so heavily in favor of Burning Core that in order to keep Honey alive and out damaging their opponents, they need to find that perfect team fight situation, and it's not happening in the jungle yet. That's where Axiz keeps continuously being caught out, and in fact, they're going back into the jungle again. If they can keep the fight in lane, that could be better. If you get a pick on the Garyaru, that's going to be good as well, but another 3-man shockwave kind of dissuades Axiz from continuing, and now you've got a flank being established as well. Once it's going in, kind of a bit prematurely, but still Axiz are a bit in shambles. This is a bit of an awkward dive, though. It doesn't matter. That damage output a bit too high as the front line comes barreling through. You see the killer instant from Ray Farkey, but Mega Man in that back line actually went golden, and now is able to free hit the backside, and all of a sudden it's falling apart. Garyaru falls as well, as Proud is chased deeper into the jungle, but will not be able to get it alive, and the Axiz turn it back around and are back in this game.
If Axiz mess up that team fight, that's them done. But they managed to recover. And part of it, the problem is that Burning Core are not layering their damage on priority members properly. Garyaru is getting good 3-man ultimates, but look who he's ulting. He's ulting the tankier members of the team fight here, because look who gets ulted by here on this shockwave. It's Hoglet, Mega Man, and of course the Alistair. But now, look at the fight. This looks so good. Honey doesn't really stand a chance here, but they commit everything onto the Aphelios with Hoglet buying time. Yuhi goes for a flank, but then Megamin's like, all right, well, we just kill you. They lose their Kaiser, one of their most important members, due to a really, really questionable killer instinct. Kaiser goes down. Suddenly, Crep Gariaru doesn't have the damage output to kill the angry Renekton, and Hoglet survived as well. The fact that the two bruisers were able to make it through the team fight after everything had been burnt is a disaster for Burning Core. You need not only to kill Honey, but to kill Megamin and or Hoglet when you do a combo like that. If you don't, you're not winning the follow-up fight.
As we see, this dragon has been started off. Ray Farkey already on the flank as well, and all of a sudden, that actually gets Hoglet a little bit caught out of position. He's going to have to try to fight his way back to the safety of his team, which his team is doing a good fight through that choke point. Gariaru's actually already gone, and that might open the door for Nemo, who gets to that backline straight away. Xan in the front is proud, who does go down. It's another kill picked up by Honey, and that is 3 members gone from the Burning Core side. And all of a sudden, once and Ray Farkey have to step away and let this Dragon Soul slip through their fingers.
How? Burning Core can't position like that. You cannot allow your Orianna, who is the cornerstone of your dive composition, to get caught out like that. You, as Burning Core, with this composition, need to be engaging. You, as Burning Core, need to be the team dictating the pace of the fight as we find someone, we commit to them, and then we get a multi-man shockwave. That is how you win these team fights, not by getting engaged upon by Hoglet, allowing Hoglet, as this tanky as hell Viego, mind you, 2 tank items and a Divine Thunderer. That's side note. If you're building this and not a Blade of the Rune King, you disgust me, but I respect the build. Okay, so Axiz of the flank from Ray Farkey. It looks good at the start, but then look at what goes disastrously wrong. Hoglet finds Gariaru, who's saying, well, crap, I don't want to shockwave just one member. Guys, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, please. Finally gets helped, and then, well, Nemo's like, well, you're grouping up. Okay, I'm going to do to you what you guys have been doing to us all game. Yuhi just gets caught out completely. And again, Burning Core, with this composition, when they are not dictating the nature of the fight by engaging, it goes disastrously for them. And they lose what was an 8,000 gold lead, whittling it down to 3,000 on the back of what? 2 team fights from the side of Axiz.
Yeah, and, you know, we're almost getting positioned up for a third right now. No neutral objectives means J-Ram time, especially with that mid tower still standing. That, you know, is an insult to the face of the Axis, as they're just going to keep piling on through. The Burning Core, I think they're a little, you know, less gung-ho about these fights after how those last 2 went, but realistically, it's just come from their own mistakes, not layering the damage correctly, or, you know, not noticing the golden alligator that's positioned in your back line ready to unleash themselves as we continue along. Those cannons doing a bit of work, but on its own, it will take a good long while before that next tower does go down. Fortunately, another wave is going to arrive for the Axis, as the Burning Core is just standing back and unable to really stop it for now. Another tower falls as the Axis does fall back, looking to reset, get those side lanes back into position, and to continue to try to throw this game back in their favor.
Burning Core, on the back of 2 team fights, has thrown away an 8,000 gold lead, whittling it down to a 2,000 gold lead now. This is not good, obviously. But there is still a way. Again, it is important to remember Burning Core have 3 Infernal Dragons. That is a ton of increased damage output. And again, what they need to do is simply be the ones dictating the start of the fight. Be the ones engaging. If you allow Axiz to engage on you, you're going to lose the fight. You need to get a good dive into the backline, access to Honey, nuke Honey, make him panic flash, and then follow that up with a multi-man shockwave and follow-up damage from Yuhi that lands on Megamin and Hoglet if Honey is already safe in that backline. That is how you win these fights. That's how they've been winning the last couple of fights. But then again, it's 1 or 2 just really poorly handled team fights from Burning Core, and things just seem to escalate out of control very quickly.
Something that has me concerned, though, for the Burning Core side, though, is looking at the itemization right now for the Axis side. GA on both Megamin as well as onto Honey means that not only does the dive have to be successful, but it needs to be sustained. And I'm not sure 2 stopwatches on Once and Yuhi is going to be enough to cover that. That said, if they find a pick onto Hoglet, it could be something good, but there's enough members of the Axis here to turn it back around, and Hoglet is tanky enough to survive, as we mentioned before. In fact, it's Once who needs to run away as Megamin goes into that front line, stays alive. That's going to be the first GA pop, but Proud and Once headshots are each so low. The damage is coming below from Eno as a kill goes down. That's right. It is one member gone already. Nemo being that first one gone. Big dive from Rain Farkey, but that's not going to amount to anything except for the top laner falling instead. It's a 2-for-1 as Mega Man in that front line did fall amidst the chaos of it all. That's going to be Burning Core winning a big fight as they make their way towards the Dragon Pit, probably for some vision because that Infernal Soul is up in 1 minute.
Yeah, and both of these teams know it. They're going to recall, get their items, get their elixirs, and get the hell back out there for the next fight. Now, take a look at this. Hoglet forced this full disengage. And again, Burning Core picked the fight. Burning Core look brilliant. But what goes wrong here is they get dragged into an extended fight with the Guardian Angels, and the Infernum ultimate from Honey tears Burning Core apart. Now, a bit of a mistake from Honey, as you can see, just flashes headfirst into the shockwave, and really good job from Gary Oru to read that, successfully pick up the kill, and Mega Man just couldn't get out in time. But important to note now, look at Honey's itemization. No Guardian Angel because obviously he got popped. Decided more attack speed is necessary with that Phantom Dancer.
I love the ability to just sell a GA and just straight up buy a Phantom Dancer. That is terrifying right now as the Infernal Dragon 2-1 and done, or at least on the Rift this time around, and both teams already ready to fight once. In fact, getting some poking down onto Nemo right now. Proud should be that source of engage, but it's one still sitting in that front line, has the ball on them once again, looking for that ball delivery system. In fact, Burning Core actually starts up the Burning Dragon right now because they nearly found out Hoglet up above. Dragon now chilling in the river. It's going to be slowly whittling away at the Burning Core side. And again, they don't really like fighting in the river, and they don't have a flank set up as well. Dragon up for grabs, and it's taken by Hoglet, and that's going to open the floodgates. Mega Man gets straight to the back line, and already Yuhi is gone. That is so much damage, no longer in a burning control. A late re-engage from Proud over the wall doesn't amount to anything as Rain Farkey is just doing what he can from the other side of the bush. And the answer is, well, it's not going to be much. That is a 3 for none as we watch Gary Aru try to run through the jungle, try to slow the Hoglet down, but there's really not many places for them to go, and realistically, you're just delaying the back because the rest of the Axis are knocking on the Burning Core door.
Yeah, Axiz looking to just burst this turret down there. They will be able to get an inhibitor. If they're feeling confident, 20 seconds till Yuhi spawns, they could look for the end, and Formula, I think they're going to.
Yeah, I think they're going to go for it as well. Teleport gets disrupted, and Gariaru falls. They desperately needed that Orianna back in the base because Ray cannot do too much against 4 members. The first Nexus Tower falls. 3 seconds left on the countdown for Yuhi to get back in with Proud, but I don't know if they can save this one. The Nexus at half, a great Pulverize knocks him up, and one last auto will do it. The Axis pull off the AK comeback and get themselves the win.
What a hell of a series we just had in our hands for Burning Core. It looked so good for them at the start of it. They got a massive 8,000 gold lead on the back of some really aggressive team fights, on some beautiful team fight coordination, only to throw it away in the later fights there. And there are some fights where you get to watch Axiz survive the opening volley, survive that shockwave that doesn't land on a priority member, and then be like, okay, cool, you've burned so many of your cooldowns on our tanky Renekton, so many cooldowns on our tanky Viego. Honey is waiting in the back lines with all 5 of the weapons that the Aphelios has in their pockets ready to go. Couldn't stop, nothing you could do at that point. Once Honey was online, had the backup from Minnow on that Lulu, it was a disaster train after that.
It is interesting to me right now because when we take a step back and look at everything overall, where do we put Axiz after this game? Because, it's one thing to say, oh, yeah, they're 2-2, 50-50, but they just had an uncharacteristically hot week. They'll fall back to where they're supposed to be. Well, now they're 3-2. That's a winning record. And it's not like, a 1-0 winning record. No, they've played some games. They've won a best-of-5 series. Is this team, starting to actually make a name for themselves that they can be respected? Because I don't care if it's against the, current bottom team in the standings or what have you. When you make an 8.5K comeback, that should put other teams on notice, like, okay, these guys, they're actually a bit legit right now.
It should raise a few alarm bells when you're looking at Axiz, the team that, again, really struggled at the first half of the year, finally coming in, finally look brilliant as a team working together. But there is still the obvious red flag question, Axiz. You can't, against the likes of Burning Core, sure, you're able to make a recovery. Burning Core has shown they have quite a lot of weaknesses. If you're up against a team like Rascal Jester, V3, even Crest or Detonation Focus Me, and you have those same issues in the early game, you allow them to get an 8,500 gold lead over you, will you be able to make the same kind of recovery? I'm not so certain. I feel confident saying yes to that question because I think there's just a bit of a different beast between a team really struggling to put together Wings of Burning Core, who looked good at the start and have sort of just run out of steam nice and early, compared to the likes of Rascal Jester or V3, who have been looking just phenomenal lately.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, not a question that gets answered today, at least. Although I do believe we do get to see, more of this team upcoming quite soon, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
Yeah, we do. Four more. We got two more games today, which will be the likes of Axis will be facing off against Sengoku, and of course, then it's our our eighth and final game of the day will be Sengoku versus V3. But formal, it won't be us that will be commentating it. This was our third and final game. It will be special guest. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Darzil and of course Melvin Izzle will be taking you for those final two games of Sengoku Axis and of course Sengoku V3 guys. So take care of yourselves and don't go anywhere. The game 7 and 8 here at the LJL OU will be kicking off shortly.